Hello, everyone. It's Melina and
Jordan.
we are the board certified BAes.
BAes. That's
Welcome
us.
back.
Hi.
How
You're
you
looking
doing?
cute today, girl.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good. Good.
Just messing with you.
Today we are talking about the Icks of Aba.
Yes, we are.
This is an episode that we've kind of touched on already when we had 3 followers, and now we have 5. So it's time to bring it back.
5. We're here. We made it.
Yeah.
Mama, I made it. Did you know that in the first time that we did this
Mm-hmm.
and you said Icks of ABA, I had no idea. Never heard that term before in my life.
And that was like
Still
a
not too,
long time ago.
yeah, still not that familiar with it.
But I
And
will
you,
say,
and I was like, yeah, what is the ickies? I was calling it the ickies.
I think I pushed that out of my brain.
And it was even in the podcast a few times. I was like, what are the ickies?
That's so
What are the ickies that you
cringe.
got coming up?
So also Ick has like resurfaced because of Love is Blind. Anyone Love is Blind. This season was like but she was like, you're giving me the ick. So anyways, you should check that out. Actually, no, you
I'm
shouldn't. It
good.
wasn't that great of a
I'm
season.
good.
I'm still
Sorry.
upset
I'm
about that.
good.
Okay, Icks of ABA. We're gonna just jump right in. Do you want to start it?
Ickies?
Do you want to start it?
Ickies?
You want to start it?
Do I want to start it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to start it?
Sure. Go ahead.
So I guess one of the first ones that kind of get me when especially when you get new staff,
Mm-hmm.
is when they think that they know more than they do, and they just come in and start pushing a kid that they don't even know. Granted, there's the caveat that like the longer you've been in the field, the more confident, more control you have over your own behavior, which allows you to create rapport quickly. But not everybody can do that. And so when somebody comes in and they're just like, I'm going to push, 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 I'm going to push. I'm like, yo, back it up.
Yeah.
They don't know you like that. They don't even know if you know how to play with them yet. That one, I think, is a little bit of a icky.
Okay.
Okay, I'll stop.
Next, I would say an ick of mine right now, as of recent, waiting list. A lot of companies are like, "Oh yeah, we'll take you," and then have like kids on waiting lists for like 6 months plus. What the literal heck? It's just selfish. I feel like if you can refer out, you should. If you don't have space, see if there is anyone else that does. I would say that's one ick in the field of ABA that I've been hearing more. Oh yeah, we're on a waiting list. Oh yeah, we're on a waiting list. That one is like nails on chalkboard.
Yeah. I had a client that did that. We were servicing them for 2 years before they got off the waiting list, and they got a phone call saying, "Hey, do you want to come off? Do you want to start services now?"
That can
I
make or
was
break
like,
a lot of things.
"What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you switching now?" They're like, "God, no, we would never." So it was just funny. But I think, yeah, that's a waiting list. It's twofold.
Yeah.
There is not enough supply for the demand of
Absolutely.
BCBAs and like behavioral support. So like we can't match that. But on the other hand, we shouldn't be as clinicians saying, yeah, I'll take you. And when a spot opens up, we'll get services. So I'll do this assessment to get started. And you just keep people in limbo. It's
Yeah.
so sad. What if somebody else has the capabilities to service them now? Something's better than nothing. So that's, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Waiting lists have always been a tricky one, I think.
Yeah.
And you got some agencies that are like, when there's a referral, never say no. You're not going to service them for the next 2 years. Why?
Yeah. Because of money, that's why.
Looks good on paper, I guess, for investors, but whatever. Yeah, no, that's a hard one for me.
Mhm.
I think another one that goes typically with those really big agencies too is training. It's just inadequate. I know we've done a whole episode on training, so I won't dive into that too much because that probably shared my opinion quite a bit on that one. But yeah, just the quality of training isn't where I think it should be or needs to be or continues to be.
Yep. And again, this is another like this is twofold because sometimes then you do have companies that care that you sacrifice the 40 hours that aren't billed and then someone leaves. And that sucks too. So also see both sides.
Yeah, which is also another ick on its own,
Turnover.
which is turnover.
Yeah.
yeah, like turnover the field. I think it's got like something like a 17% like retention rate, not turnover rate, like retention rate. Like,
Yeah.
I think that was a number I saw somewhere. Don't quote me. I could be completely wrong. But it doesn't change the fact that it highlights it's very low.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks. It's really, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
You being
I think it varies from different reasons, from burnout to lack of support to maybe not enough work, misunderstanding of what their schedule's going to look like. I think it varies. Um, but yeah, it sucks.
It does. It does a lot. But
Yeah.
I mean, what can we do?
Yeah. As a BCBA, I think one thing that's hard to work with is a person that can't accept feedback. Like you're giving feedback, how we can tweak things, how we can work on certain things, make things look better. And staff is just so set on trying to get you to understand why they're doing it. And I'm like, I hear you. That makes sense. I get what you're
Doesn't
saying.
change that it's
Yeah,
wrong.
doesn't change that that is not based off of anything that has to do with what we're doing clinically. And that one actually kind of goes into another one that would be like, I have some staff that are really quick to go ask. Okay, let me preface this. We work at a very intimate agency where there are BCBAs in supply. You can literally turn your head and see a BCBA and ask them a question. Okay, so I'll
Happens
start there.
all the time.
Yes.
Sometimes a little too much.
Yeah. But the problem is, I do see some staff while I'm standing there or while another BCBA is standing there, go ask another staff clinical questions over the BCBA. Which sometimes, if we're not there and it's like an assistant supervisor, things like that, that makes sense. Or if they know a kid, that makes sense. But sometimes it's like, no, you should not be asking someone that is just as seasoned as you are the ABA questions that have to do with this kid's case, clinical questions, things like that. Go to your BCBA. Don't just hear the watered down version from someone else on the team if there's a BCBA available. If there's not, I get it. I get it. Lean on your team. But if there's a BCBA available, go to your BCBA, please.
Yep. Yeah.
Because now I got to reteach everybody because y'all just spreading watered down versions of what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah, the blind leading the blind.
Oh,
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
yeah.
And it happens quite often too, and I can definitely see it in bigger places. I think yeah, one of the other ones that isn't, it's on the same like path as this but different, is how long some of the direct staff go without seeing a BCBA. Like we are in supply, like you said, and that's
Yeah.
what kind of made me trigger it. It's like
We are
that was
the
not the
rare
way when we
breed.
started
Yeah.
in this field. Seeing your BCBA once a month, if you're lucky, is a horrible gold standard to live by. And I think that us as clinicians need to do better than that, to support and give the staff what it is that they need and be able to move forward. So I think that's another big one, is just being able to see your staff more, see your clients more. Don't settle, and which can go even for another ick, into being a teledoc BCBA.
Yeah.
A telehealth BCBA only. Wow. Like you brought this up the last one when we talked about Icks, that there are a lot of Facebook forums or like little places that people are posting looking for 100% remote jobs.
Yeah.
Makes sense if you live in a really rural area. Makes sense if you are sick and you want to continue working. Makes sense if you are trying to fade out and have parents doing more and staff doing more, and they don't have that dependability on you being there to get things done. So it makes sense. There is a time, there is a place for it. It's not saying telehealth is bad, but working 100% remote, how do you get to know a kid? How do you get to know the client that you're servicing? Right? What we get to do is such a privilege because we get to bring life and fun and enjoyment to so many kids and clients and individuals that don't get that from a lot of places. They're seen as different or whatever it is. in a negative light, and we get to bring so much joy and teach things that can really help them to whatever capacity it is that they need. And then you want to do all that from behind a computer and expect that everything's going to be the same as if you're in person.
Yeah.
That is definitely an ick.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Next, I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Shout out to our good friend from back in the day, Avis. My favorite line that I ever heard her talk about is like the smoke and mirrors. I think there is a lot of fluffy, it feels good looking therapy, but nothing's really happening. Like I've had parents be like, "Well, I want to tour the clinic because I want to see if they have a playground or if they have, you know, this, that, or the other. It looks
Feel the
cutesy.
vibes.
It looks, And I'm like, that's great and everything, but also, if they're not doing anything that's actually gonna help the child grow, go to a park like that. You can do that anywhere else. You can like, right? So when it looks fluffy, when it looks like it feels good, that's great, but how can you do that while also working on goals, right? Like we are supposed to be a temporary service. How do we do that? How do we move a kid forward without it just being like fluffy fun songs? Again, you can use songs, work on a lot of stuff, but if you're not working on nothing, you're just babysitting.
Yeah, and you can use those smoke and mirrors to give the illusion of therapy, even to the point of you yourself believing it. It's like, oh, this kid loves playing with me. Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah,
Like you can't get them to do any work.
Yeah,
and you wonder why you have behaviors when you ask them to do work.
Yep. You've been working on them signing more for the past 3 years. It's time to do something else, boo boo.
Yeah, like we can step it up a notch and do better. That's also like the BAes too need to do better at that point.
Yeah.
But we are talking about something a little interesting there, like with the smoke and mirrors, because there are a lot of therapists, I think, that attribute the success of a session to whether or not the kid enjoyed playing with you. Right, which to a degree that is very, very important. Don't get me wrong, like that is very important. We want to be wanted, right? It's really hard to get anything accomplished if the kid doesn't want us there. But if they're like, oh yeah, we did, we got to play this, and you ask what goals you worked on, it was just like crickets, or like the cop out answer, functional play, and like, well, how did you do that? What game did you use? How were you structuring it? So on and so forth. And then the deeper you dig, the worse the answers and the more cringeworthy you feel as a BCBA.
Yeah.
So, the smoke and mirrors is definitely a big one. And just staff not knowing what it means to have a good session, right? Because you could do everything right and a kiddo could still get upset. But it's because you did everything right. It's because you are challenging them, you're pushing them, you're encouraging them, right? You're not doing anything negative, but you're doing it in such a positive way and building that it is hard. And a lot of the things that we do are hard.
Yeah.
But that in itself is supposed to be enough to keep us pushing.
Yeah.
Right. But then when you take it personally, which I think is another ick, is like you can't take everything that happens personally.
That's a good one.
Right? Like you did everything right. They still didn't like me. Like that's a small moment in time because they had such a challenge with the last task. But tomorrow when they come in, they're going to be so happy because now they know how to do that task.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Now they know how to ask for something rather than, hitting or throwing to receive the item. Yeah. And now they get things a lot easier because they ain't got to put on a show to do that. So yeah, it's like 100%. I think that's a great one.
That big picture, especially like no, they're not hitting their head against the wall anymore because of the intervention that we just put in and that you just did.
Yeah.
Right. So tomorrow when they come in, we might not have to go through this.
Yep.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I need to go home. I'm just like, I'm so depleted. It was such a bad session. I'm like,
it's not about you.
It's not you.
Yeah.
How do you think they feel? Like they had a hard time.
Use a little smack in the face here and there, okay? It humbles you.
So so yes, yes, because when that happens, it's usually our fault to some degree.
Why did you push that hard in the last 5 minutes of session? Come on.
Yeah, there
Come on.
there
Assessment.
there are some things that is definitely our fault. But we need to be able to identify those, and we need to be able to assess those, and know that those are ours. But those are definitely, um, it's like the icks that I feel like they just keep coming as we start talking about this. Like you even got staff or other BCBAs that you talk to that could sit off and quote the Cooper text back to front, and then I'm like, I want to see you run a session.
Yeah, I can't really talk to
I
a
want
child.
30 minutes. 30 minutes with this kid right here. I want you to sit down and play. And it's like, there are some things, in this field where you have to be bilingual, right? You have to know the definitions. You have to know the text, and know like the technical language.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to be able to filter that down. That's where the bilingual comes in, and be able to speak like a normal person. I think I read somewhere or watched somewhere or saw somewhere something, that said that majority of people, on this planet only recognize like language or vocabulary up to like the fifth to the eighth grade,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you think about it, and at that time I was like, huh, no way, like, and I was like, I got all like kind of butthurt, and I was like, but I got college degrees. Let me think about that. And it's not about the degrees, but then you go back and you sit and I'm like, well, how often do I actually use terms that I learned in like history and terms I learned in this and that? Like actually not that much. So the more I thought about it, the more I really believed it.
Yeah.
And then I like think about those BCBAs or technicians or therapists or whoever that only use the language. I'm like,